forgot that I muted myself. Good day, everyone, and welcome to Sir America. Me, your host, DeAndre Pace, so known as the great King Golden Zeus, Mr. Pace. Um, as I was scrambling today, trying to figure out what exactly I wanted to talk about today, I don't know if my microphone's picking up really good or not because I don't got my headphones on. But as I was struggling to figure out what it is exactly that I wanted to talk about today, I was looking up at some articles and I found some pretty interesting stuff. And I think I'll start with those articles that I was looking at. If you were wondering what I'm looking around for, I had a notebook that I do a bunch of writing and stuff in, and the last place I had it was over here, and now I don't know where it's at. And so some of the stuff that I was going to talk about was in that notebook, and I can't find it. But anyways, things have to go on. Things must continue to move forward. We're ever going to make this show a success. Uh, of course, the potential name change is in process. Uh, it's just very hard coming up with a with a new name, very with a different title. So, but I wanted to first go over this article here because it's of interest to me. You guys know my love for all things Sasquatch, and so I'm gonna pop this here on the old screen. We'll take a look here. Pop that one on the old screen. You know what? I'm just gonna do the entire screen. Screen number two. So, and here we are. So you see this little image here. Now, according according to this, these are some Aboriginal tales that found a creature resembling Native American Sasquatch. Of course, if you know anything about Australia, you know that the Australians call their Sasquatch the Yowie, and there's been numerous sightings reported there. However, how did an ape get to Australia? Well, we have no idea. Considering that if by the time apes got around the scene, according to evolution anyway, Australia would have already been separated from the mainland. So it's a bit odd. However, uh, anything can really happen. So looking at this article here, it says that in 2021, cryptozoologists in Queensland, Australia, took some in, infrared uh, cameras to Springbrook National Park, a place believed that they saw evidence of the Yowie activity in the brush. And amazingly, the thermal image showed a large, seemingly human-shaped creature hiding behind the trees, even hugging the tree. This behavior is explained as camouflaging by those who seek to learn the secrets of Yowie, and also in America, Sasquatch things, you know, uh, the BFRO and many other Bigfoot-related organizations tend to believe that these creatures will hug the trees in order to camouflage themselves and stay out of sight. I was hoping they would have had a picture of of it, but it doesn't seem like they have a picture of of it. I'm assuming this is the picture. This is what I'm assuming. I'm assuming this is the picture, but if this is a thermal image, this is the weirdest thermal image I've ever seen because thermal images are typically showing heat sources and typically are done at nighttime. So this, I don't know what to make of it. Uh, however, looking here at the actual face in the picture, I'm more inclined to believe that this one is a hoax. Uh, for a number of reasons, the face seems really artificial to me. The way the bridge and the brow line looks as if it was too groomed. Uh, from all the reports that we have heard of Sasquatch, their face would be a much darker color. Yowie would be a much darker color, and if we're going to go on lines of other species of great ape, their face would be much darker color, particularly uh, because of the fur being so dark. You would want your flesh to be able to blend in with your fur, so that you wouldn't be so easily noticed. And I haven't seen any primate that has a distinction of difference, with the exception of humans. But human beings aren't typically covered in hair all across the body and this volume. So, in my opinion, this one is a hoax. Matter of fact, it looks like something from the Planet of the Apes, if you ask me. If for this to be a thermal image, it's just not ringing it for me. Thermal images would not be showing this much greenery. It would be showing a lot more heat, especially if this was taken during the day. If this was a thermal image that was taken during the day, I don't believe you'd even be able to see this creature because of the heat sources from the sun. So I think it's a hoax. If that is indeed the image, and I don't know if it's the image or not, but if it is the image, I think it's a hoax. So now let's go on to this next one here. This next article that I was looking at here, and that one I just found that one interesting. I wanted to see what was going on. Let's take a look at this one. A former FBI agent and FBI lawyer whose notorious affair was a memorable subplot in the Mueller era has sued Donald Trump and now may be allowed to question him under oath. So let's see who is suing Trump. So Peter Strzok and Lisa Page. It appears that Strzok is going to sue Donald Trump. Give me 1 second here. The animals are acting up. Over there later. Now, let's take a look at this article in a little bit more detail. See what's going on here. See if there's any meat to this bone. How well do you remember the names of Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, and in what context may depend on how well you remember Robert Mueller investigation, how closely you read Donald Trump's Twitter feed during his presidency. Peter Strzok was an FBI agent, and Lisa Page was his FBI attorney, whom he was in an affair with. Both were part of the initial FBI investigation into the Russia interference scandal in 2016. Both were part of the special counsel of Robert Mueller's team in the early days of the investigation. The two had an affair beginning in 2016 and exchanged hundreds of text messages, many of them critical of Trump, which later came to light as they had been sent on the pair's government issued devices. So they both got removed from the Robert Mueller investigation because of that, and uh, they are both later sued the FBI, claiming they were a target of unfair retribution, which doesn't make sense to me. Clearly, they had animus against the president of the United States. Peter Strzok then became uh, Peter Strzok and Page then became key figures in conspiracy theories related to the FBI and the Mueller investigation. Trump calling them lovebirds and using terms such as the lovely Lisa Page on numerous occasions. Give me 1 second. These animals are really messing up everything. Sorry about that. Now I'm back. So I want to get down. I want to skip over all the minutia and get down to what are they suing him for. So it seems as though Peter Strzok and Lisa Page are suing. Well, Peter Strzok. I don't know if Lisa Page is involved in this lawsuit, but it appears so he's suing because he believes he was wrongfully terminated, and he's demanded reinstatement and back pay from the FBI. Page claims that her privacy was violated when her text messages were publicly issued. So they're suing for those types of things. This is interesting. Okay, so it doesn't look like it's too much of anything, but that's some animus. I don't know how many of you actually remember that story. Russia was such a big thing for so long a period of time, um, that everything kind of got swamped and moved around, and we don't really hear about it anymore. But Peter Strzok, uh, I don't know if they've got a picture of him laying around there, but Peter Strzok was a very heinous individual. Lisa Page also same thing. They sent multiple text messages talking about how they had a insurance policy against Donald Trump in the case that he won, which was the phony Russia story that they used to try to besmirch his presidency for 4 years. And even after that, they're still trying to say that the man colluded with Russia, even though there's zero evidence. But all of the evidence of collusion was actually from the FBI and the Democrat Party and the Clintons. So it is uh, rather interesting and entertaining to see that Peter Strzok actually believes that he has any chance here in doing anything here. Now, what's funny about this is under, under the Constitution of the United States, the executive branch of government outlined in Article 2 of the Constitution. And I'll go ahead and I'll pick it up here. The executive branch, the executive power shall be vested in the President of the United States. He shall hold his office during a term of 4 years, and together with the Vice President chosen for the same term, be elected as follows. Okay, so in the Constitution, the executive, the President of the United States, he is the ultimate authority when it comes to anybody that works in the executive. Now, the FBI is the executive. The president can fire at will anybody in the executive branch of government. Now, in 2019, 2020, the Democrats tried to pass a bill in secrecy that was going to make it harder for a president to fire bureaucrats in Washington because Donald Trump said that if he won the election, he was going to fire pretty much all of the swamp. Which just sounds like a good idea to me. It sounds like what he should have did when he got in there in the first place. And so, according to the Constitution, he, the president of the United States, is the only person that has that power, and the other branches can't overturn that power. So, if he is claiming that he was fired wrongfully because of his animus towards Donald Trump, he wasn't fired by Trump. He was fired by the FBI director Christopher Wray. But either way, if Donald Trump was the one to fire him, well, you can't do anything about it. He was the president and you served under his executive office. You have no power, no authority, uh, and no ability to this to contest that. That's just all there is to it. And so I'm going to move on to another story that I was looking at. This is from Mississippi. I wanted to see what the number one fast food chain in Mississippi is and how true that is. So it says here in Mississippi, these are our top fast food chains. So let's take a look. Number 19 is the top, Crystals. We have 25 locations for Crystals in Mississippi. I gotta say, I don't like Crystals. The burgers are too small and too overpriced. Very little sauce, and the burgers are very, very dry. I don't know who likes going to Crystals to eat there. It's very bland. Tastes like dog food. Dairy Queen is number 19. Now I like Dairy Queen. Uh, Mostly I like the milkshakes. The banana milkshake is delicious, but they have some pretty good burgers too. Not my favorite place to go for burgers, but I do like their fries better than McDonald's fries. Some people say that's blasphemy, but McDonald's French fries are too thin, too hard, and they put way too much salt on it, even if you tell them if you want no salt. Little Caesars, uh, Little Caesars is really good. I like Little Caesars. Um, my only problem with Little Caesars is I wish they would use, for pizza to be so thin, which is what they usually have, is thin crust, and cook rapidly. So it's most of the time their pizzas are a little overcooked. I would prefer them to have a little bit more sauce. On a thin crusted pizza, I want more sauce. Let's see what's next. Papa John's pizza. I can't really give too much of an opinion. I don't eat at Papa John's very. I can't remember the last time I had a piece of Papa John's pizza, Papa John's food in general. So I can't give an opinion on it. Church's chicken. Now back in the day, Church's probably would have been up there in the top five, but they've gone down in quality over of their chicken, of their food. Everything's gone down in quality uh, from Church's chicken. But Church's chicken used to be delicious. Their fried okra was always the best. But nowadays, you eat Church's chicken, it gives you stomach problems. Last time I had Church's chicken, it gave me runs to the bathroom all night. Chick Fil A, I would expect Chick Fil A to be higher with the amount of traffic that I see surrounding that building uh, every day, all day. I would expect Chick Fil A to be much higher, primarily because of their customer service. Chick Fil A's customer service has always been better than any other fast food chain uh, that I have ever been to. You know, their line could be wrapped around the building, but honestly, you only stay in that line for maybe 5 minutes because they come and they serve you and take your order uh, while you're in the line, while the line is still moving. So I would expect them to be higher, but you know, having limited options, okay. Plus, uh, I don't know. Everybody talks about Chick Fil A like it's the best thing in the world, and it's pretty good. Not the best thing in the world, but they're pretty good. Uh, I would expect it to be higher. McAllister's Deli. Never been to McAllister's, and all of the food that I see on McAllister's website doesn't look too appetizing at all. It all looks it all looks like salad, and I suppose that would be okay if this is a like, kind of like a Subway place or something. But I've never been to McAllister's to give a proper opinion. Baskin Robbins. Don't know what it is. Look, apparently, it's an ice cream parlor. 42 locations. I can't tell you the last time I went to an actual ice cream shop. Uh, you know, just not something that I do very often. I mean, you don't for 42 locations, you don't see them very very common in areas. So you'd have to travel out of your way to go to an ice cream shop down here. And I remember when I was younger, there was an ice cream shop that we used to go to where you can get fresh waffle cones that were made fresh in front of you, overnight with ice cream scoops and stuff. But uh, I don't know. Can't give an opinion. I've never been Hardee's. Never been there either. So I can't give an opinion on that one either. Don't even know what they serve. KFC, I would expect KFC to be much higher on the list. But then again, KFC's quality has gone down tubes. When I was younger, me and my granny would go to KFC almost every day. I get popcorn chicken. She'd get barbecue chicken legs, uh, and chicken wings, and it was always good. The chicken pot pie was always good. Uh, but nowadays, KFC is kind of going downhill, and I suppose one of the big issues with KFC and really our fast food chains down here in Mississippi is uh, the employees. The employees are so horrible. They're so abysmal that it makes it difficult to um, enjoy going out to a fast food restaurant because the quality of the staff is poor. Their ability to take orders is poor. The cleanliness of the restaurants is ridiculous. Uh, these people, they continue to moan and gripe for higher pay, but they can't even do the job right. They can't keep the building clean. They can't cook the food proper. They, you know, that's a problem with fast food restaurants. That's a problem with workers in Mississippi. Workers in Mississippi are the laziest workers in probably the entirety of the United States. I would expect Popeyes to be higher. Popeyes is always one that people go to. We love chicken in Mississippi. We love chicken in the South in general. I would expect Popeyes to be better, to be higher. Waffle House. I don't consider Waffle House to be a fast food chain. You said it's a fast food chain. I don't consider Waffle House to be a fast food chain. Nothing at Waffle House is fast. Not even a coffee. But I do like Waffle House. But it really depends on which Waffle House you go to. Because my first experience with Waffle House was dreadful. The food was raw. It looked old. When I took the meat out to put it on the grill, because I always sit at the bar so I could see them cook. Uh, when they took the meat out, the meat looked gray, so I knew it was old. And but they still didn't cook it all the way. It was nasty. It was bland. But I went to a different Waffle House. Had a different staff at a different period of time, and the food was good. And I used to go there every day before work, and the food was always good. So I do like Waffle House, but it really depends. And again, that goes down to the staffing at these establishments. You got to hire people that actually care. The people that work in most of these places don't care and always give you poor, horrible quality. Domino's, gotta say, I like Domino's, but I'm not a big fan of them. They change their rules way too often about delivery and delivery times. They contradict themselves. And then when you call them, asking about the specials and stuff, you got to go through uh, the Domino's national directory before you can get to the store that you're calling. It doesn't make any sense to do all that. If I wanted to call the national directory, I call them. I want to call Domino's that's local so I can figure out what they have and what their delivery price is. You know, but nah, Domino's is going down in quality. But I will say Domino's pizza is better than Pizza Hut's. Pizza Hut's pizza has gone. Pizza Hut has gone down in quality, way down in quality to what it was when we were kids. The next one is Taco Bell. Yeah, I like Taco Bell. It's one of the cleaner establishments, usually, and their $5 craving box has always been really good. One of my favorites, the chalupa box. However, with prices going up, that's no longer an option. And Taco Bell is the one that stays open the latest now, for the most part. I think Wendy's might be up there with them for longer, for late too. Uh, but it makes it easy for people like me who like to eat very late at nighttime, uh, to be able to get a bite to eat. So yeah, I think they're okay. Burger King, gotta say, I like the fries, but I've never been a big fan of their burgers. The burgers always taste a little too watery to me because like the meats it wasn't allowed to thaw out properly, and or always like I had one that was like super oily, like almost like if you took one of those burger patties that's already pre-made and you cook it in the microwave and it just kind of bubbles up. I had one that was like that, but again, it depends on where you get it from. Last time I went to Burger King, uh, it took us like 3 hours to get our order, and it was not even good. So it really depends. Wendy's, I like Wendy's. A fan of the Baconator, but I will say, never get Wendy's dollar menu cheeseburger. Tastes horrible. But other than that, I like Wendy's. I think they're pretty good. They've got some pretty good fries. They've got pretty good stuff overall. I kind of enjoy Wendy's. However, I will say that whatever bacon they use or whatever sauce they're using on the Baconator is way too salty for my taste, and so that's why I don't eat there as often because the one thing that I like to eat is always super salty, and I don't like that much salt on my food. Pizza Hut, I've already talked about that. They don't deserve to be number 4. They don't deserve to be in the top 10. Pizza Hut's quality has gone all the way down the tubes. The food sucks. The restaurants don't that aren't even open most of the time. People don't go in there anymore. Uh, yeah, it shouldn't be number 4. Sonic. Sonic is another one of those that used to be much better when I was younger, but now it's too expensive for what you get. Much better, much bigger fan of Checkers than I am Sonic. But Sonic is more convenient than most of these other ones. McDonald's is at number 2. No surprise, everybody loves McDonald's. But down here, everything's always broken in McDonald's. It really depends on where you go to get a good McDonald's. But all my experiences, when I go to McDonald's, they usually get the order wrong. They tell you that they don't put mayonnaise on anything unless you request it. And every time I go there, I tell them no mayonnaise, and I wind up getting so much mayonnaise I have to wring out the bun and throw the lettuce away. You know, so everybody likes McDonald's and Subway being number 1. Eh, I doubt it. I Subway is not number 1 down here. We don't. Oh, I mean, nah, it's not number 1. It's in the top 10, but it's not number 1. I I wonder how they got this rate. How they did this rating. They don't show any article pieces down here to tell you. how they did the ratings or not. So it's interesting. Let's go with this article. No, not this one. This one. So yeah, I did want to get into this now. Donald Trump has been making a lot of videos. You see him on Forbes. As a matter of fact, let's take a listen to it. Let me stop sharing so I can share the audio of that system audio, and we'll listen to it together.
Right now, we need to. World War III has never been closer than it is right now. We need to clean house of all of the warmongers and America last globalists and the deep state, the Pentagon, the State Department, and the national security industrial complex. One of the reasons I was the only president in generations who didn't start a war is that I was the only president who rejected the catastrophic advice of many of Washington's generals, bureaucrats, and the so-called diplomats who only know how to get us into conflict, but they don't know how to get us out. For decades, we've had the very same people, such as Victoria Nuland and many others just like her, obsessed with pushing Ukraine toward NATO, not to mention the State Department support for uprisings in Ukraine. These people have been seeking confrontation for a long time, much like the case in Iraq and other parts of the world, and now we're teetering on the brink of World War III. And a lot of people don't see it, but I see it, and I've been right about a lot of things. They all say Trump's been right about everything.
Okay, so that's a little clip of it. Now he's done a lot more videos and stuff on that, but uh, it is true that the fears and the propagating for the potentiality of a World War III have been on the loom for a little while. And nobody in the media seems to want to talk about it. But it is true with the Biden administration constantly sending money to Ukraine. They're not taking heed to the threats of China, to the threats of Russia. They are simply doing a poor job of handling pretty much every important thing that they need to handle here within the United States. The Biden administration is an abject failure uh, for this country. You take a look at what's going on right now. They allow China to send over whatever it was that they sent over across the entirety of the United States. Um, for what that had to be 6,000 miles that vessel soared across the United States before it was dropped in the Atlantic. Uh, you're giving away hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine. They're not even an ally of ours. They're not a part of NATO, but we are expected and required to provide for them, to take care of them, to do all of this extra stuff for Ukraine. And I cannot get over that. Ukraine does not deserve any money from the United States unless they're paying for it. I have no problem giving them equipment and supplies, but they need to be giving us money. I look at my paychecks, I look at my taxes, and I see how I'm getting less and less every year, and the government is siphoning all of my money and giving it to people who are not Americans. And I was watching Gutfield tonight. This episode, I think it probably aired yesterday. But this Tyrus was hosting it, and he's absolutely true. Why in the hell am I paying federal taxes when the federal government isn't using any of the money that I'm paying them to take care of the needs of American people? We're spending hundreds of billions of dollars every year taking care of illegal immigrants, putting them in the best hotels, giving them food that they don't even want to eat, giving them clothing, giving them the best technology, the internet services, best housing. And people like myself, hell, if I wanted to go on welfare or whatever, even though I despise welfare, but as an example, if I wanted to use the services of the government, I would get denied every time. But you let these people who mean us no good come in, and they can get anything they want. You let people who are Americans, who don't work, who don't contribute to society, you let them siphon off the hard-earned money of law-abiding Americans that are willing to work and pay into the system, and the rest of us get screwed. As a matter of fact, as I said last week, I get so ticked off and pissed off about it because uh, all of these welfare services, Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, all of that crap that is coming out my paycheck, all of that garbage is going to be gone by the time I get ready to retire. Matter of fact, it'll probably be gone before the end of this decade, and I'm never going to get any of that money back. Thousands, if tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars that I will have paid into Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid by the time uh, it ends, and all that money is just gone. You know, it's ridiculous. We're already paying state tax. Why are we paying federal tax and uh, at all? A portion of your state tax should go to federal tax. That's the way it should work. And I like the idea of no state tax, but the more and more I think about it, if there's no state tax, that means that we're taxing somewhere else, making up other taxation laws, other taxation rules, and Mississippi is horrible for that. So I'm not a big fan of what's going on with that. But Trump is correct. However, the actuality of us going to war, I don't see it yet, but there is a great potential for that to happen if things don't change the way they're going right now. I had looked up some articles and stuff that I wanted to go over with Rhett, but he didn't show up, so I'm not going to discuss those articles. Uh, I'm going to discuss some more little things that I find interesting. Let me see. I got some other articles up over here, but honestly, I don't know who is hiring these people to write these articles. Uh, I look at an archaeology article, and the entire article is what, 2 paragraphs. So ridiculous. This one I wanted to talk about with Rhett, and I find it interesting. But you know what? I'll save this one for next week. I think it'll be interesting to go over that one. So the last one that I want to talk about is right here. We're going to look at it. This is a video from Fox News Business, Fox Business. No, it's not Fox News. It's Fox Business, even though it's Fox News. Uh, it's an article from Fox News. Now, this is about Warren Buffett, and what he talks about is the worst money management job he's seen in his 92 years of existence.
Have you seen Activision Blizzard's report? The record fourth quarter growing 40% year over year after a strong holiday season. Just when everybody thought, you know what, the pandemic's over, people are going to get out and about, they're not going to play games. Oh, they did. The company reported earnings per share of $1.87, revenue of $3.57 billion, beating Refinitive's estimates. This was in no small part thanks to the resounding successes of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 and Overwatch 2, with both released in October. But it's the success of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 and some of these other games the very thing giving antitrust regulators firepower as they hold up its merger with Microsoft. Activision Blizzard CEO Bobby Kotick joins us now. I could not believe this. I mean, within the first 10 days of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2's launch, you'd already made $1 billion, and that
This video has nothing to do with the article. I don't understand this. Whoever does these articles on Microsoft needs to be fired. But here we go. Billionaire Warren Buffett issued a clear inflation warning and slammed disgusting money manager behavior in his annual letter to the Berkshire Hathaway shareholders. Now, Warren Buffett is one of the most successful investors, and he's cautioned that fiscal deficits have consequences. Quote, "Our job is to manage Berkshire's operations and finances in a manner that will achieve an acceptable result over time and will preserve the company's unmatched staying power when financial panics or severe worldwide recessions occur," he wrote to himself and 99-year-old Berkshire Hathaway Vice Chairman Charlie Munger. Berkshire also offers some modest protection from runaway inflation, but this attribute is far from perfect. Huge and entrenched fiscal deficits have consequences, Warren Buffett, who's now 92 years old, said. Now, during the decade ending in 2021, the United States Treasury received about $32.3 trillion in taxes, while it spent over $43.9 trillion, he wrote, saying that Berkshire paid $32 billion in the United States alone. That means, brace yourself, had there been roughly 1,000 taxpayers in the U.S. matching Berkshire's payments, no other business nor any other country's 131 million households would have needed to pay any taxes to the federal government, not a dime. 92-year-old investor focused on the big picture in the long term. He says, "I've been investing for 80 years, more than one-third of the country's lifetime. Despite our citizens' penchant, almost enthusiasm for self-criticism and self-doubt, I have yet to see a time when it made sense to make a long-term bet against America, and I doubt very much that any reader of this letter will have a different experience in the future." However, when he finally wrote that an important warning, even the operating earnings figure that we favor could easily be manipulated by managers who wish to do so. Such tampering, often thought as sophisticated by CEO, directors, and advisors, reporters, and analysis embrace its existence well. That activity is disgusting and requires no talent to manipulate numbers. Only a deep desire to deceive is required. So it's important to take heed to what Mr. Buffett is saying, because the inflation issue here right now, and when you take a look at those numbers, 43.9 trillion that we spent over $10 trillion more, actually over $11 trillion more than we produced in taxes. And we're doing this annually. Already with the Biden administration, we've spent exorbitant amount of money. With the Biden administration, if you adjust and remove the unnecessary COVID spending that the government forced down our throats during the last 2 years of the Trump administration, if you remove that from the equation, the Biden administration has increased the deficit more than any other president in the history of the United States. Just within his two now 3 years in office. Every year has been a substantial increase in funding and spending. We've already spent more than our yearly budget. We've met the national debt ceiling. We can no longer borrow any more money, which is a good thing because I'm tired of them borrowing money and not paying it back. But that affects all of us. Now all of our rates are going to go up because the federal government isn't handling their part of the bargain. Now we're going to be stuck grinding and hard times. And the sad thing is, unless the market crumbles and falls away, a complete depression and completely shuts down, and we start back over, these prices are never going to go back down. They're never going to stabilize and go back to something that is reasonably affordable for most Americans. For most people in general, regardless of whether you live in America or not, these prices will not get any better. They're only going to get worse. And before they stabilize, they will get worse. And it's going to make it much more difficult for people who are up and coming to try to survive in this economy and this Biden America. It's just going to get tough. It's just all there is to it. And we are going to have to figure out a way to get around this inflation and this poor management of our tax dollars by the federal government. This is the reason why Thomas Jefferson uh, never wanted a national treasury, never wanted to incur national debt. Um, this is one of the sources of one of the many great battles and fights that he had against fellow founding father Alexander Hamilton, the first Secretary of the Treasury under uh, President George Washington. Uh, and it's just very, very interesting to see that the things that the founders fought about, that they were able to concede on, are some of the very things that caused us these issues today. Not because of the lack of foresight of the founders, but because of this generation and the last several generations not being financially and politically astute enough or honorable enough to want to do what's good for the American people. Over the last, I want to probably say, 150 years, these politicians have been doing only what is good for them and their monetary gain. Very few exceptions have we seen politicians do what's right for the American people without concerning themselves with political gain and financial gain. We see it with laws that are still on the books that have not been removed and probably will never be removed because nobody's ever going to talk about it. Nobody's ever going to bring it up. I've never, even Ron Paul or whatever his name is, he brings up the spending, But I've never seen anybody in Congress bring up, let's remove some of these old, outdated laws that we passed that harmed business opportunities, that harmed the ability of American people to make money and support themselves because of licensure laws and other blood-sucking practices by lobbyists and labor unions and a multitude of other laws and bills that have been passed that were against the interest of the common American because some labor union or big corporation was getting out marketed by the small guy. And all of this leads up to right now where we have the greatest inflation since the Great Depression. I think we're probably worse off than during the Great Depression. They're just not ready to call it a depression yet. Things are very bad. We have artificial food shortages, artificial energy shortages. All of the problems that we have right now are man-made, not because of any damage that we've done to the environment. They're man-made problems because we're listening to a crowd of people that are telling us that we need to do away with everything that is convenient for us in our lives in order to save the planet which has been around without us. If you believe in the evolution theories and whatnot, for over 4 billion years, and this planet will be around after us for another 4 billion years. Nothing that we have done as human beings has remotely contributed to more of the Earth's problems than the Earth itself has contributed. And the Earth has a way of regulating those problems over time. And we see it happening all of the time. We talk about the ozone layer and all of those things, but it heals itself over time because the Earth is constantly releasing gases into the atmosphere, constantly. And so over time, the Earth's magnetic field heals that over time. If it didn't, we'd all be reduced to walking cancers because we would have no protection between us and the sun's harmful rays. The Earth's ozone layer, the gases that the Earth shoots up into the sky and shoots up into the stratosphere, or what creates sort of a membrane that allows just enough solar radiation to get through to heat things, but not enough to get through to cause significant damage. And if the Earth didn't do that on its own, we'd never have been able to survive on this planet. And we're not having those problems now. People get to, oh, people are getting cancers now. You know what? You're getting cancer because you're eating food that's not good for you. You're you're cooking with things that you shouldn't cook. Some people are eating things raw still. You have people that are out there tanning in the sun for hours and hours and hours, and some people are even using artificial tanning sources, which forces your skin to to take in at abnormal rates excessive levels of UV radiation, and you're mutating your own bodies, and you're wondering why you're having health issues and health problems. None of this has to do with anything from the external environment. It has everything to do with what we are doing day to day in our own lives and personal choices and decisions. But with that being said, you know what? I'm gonna do a video tomorrow, and we're gonna talk about something that I want to talk about. Um, I don't know how many of you are interested animes and things like that, but I have a personal interest in it. So I'm I'm going to see if I can get some buddies of mine to come on, and we're just going to have a good little chit chat about some of our best animes and shows and what we think would happen in particular versus confrontations and stuff like that. I think it'll be fun. Break the pace and change up the gloom and doom that we talk about on here so often. But until next time, I will see you all again.